the Australian Federation is probably in many respects one of the worst in the world in terms of the way in which the centre has dominated. In particular, I think we're the only federation in the world, that is the democratic real federations, where the central government takes 80% of the taxes. This would not be believed in other federations, where states have their own independent taxation. The Commonwealth hasn't, the centre hasn't grasped everything. And as you know, the Commonwealth uses that to pressure the states.
I read a very good book about 10 years ago by a fellow called Professor David Flint and Joe Martinkovich, and it was called Give Us Back Our Country. And it really was a fabulous book. And it was all about this question about how we are not a federation, we are a farce of a federation. And it's only getting worse. Now, it's very much not what the founding fathers of Australia proposed in the 1890s at the constitutional debate. Well, look, I think a lot of the blame for it, actually, David, I do think goes to Alfred Deakin, who I think Alfred Deakin's the most influential Australian who's ever lived. But he was, basically a big centraliser. Now, the heroic figure at that period was George Reid, the fabulous Premier of New South Wales, and he was very reluctant for New South Wales, the mother colony, the biggest colony, the richest colony. He was very reluctant for Australia to join the Federation. And when they had a vote in 1898, the other states voted yes. New South Wales, well, they say that New South Wales voted no. In fact, what happened is there was so little interest because New South Wales was unenthusiastic, particularly the New South Wales Parliament, which is where I'm sitting right now. They were very against federation, and George Reid was against federation. And then they made some concessions, and then they had those concessions they made weren't too important. George Reid then very reluctantly in 1899 said he would vote in favour of the federation. But very interestingly, David, so then New South Wales did at the second vote say, OK, we'll join the federation. But Sydney, the city of Sydney, twice voted no to joining Australia. And this was because we were the free trade state. We were basically the libertarian state, and this is why we were successful. We didn't believe in a big government. And federation was very much driven by the Victorians. And then the Tasmanians and South Australians largely just copied the Victorians. And then Queenslanders were a bit reluctant. Western Australians came along late. But it was, when they voted in Victoria about whether we should federate, it was like about 90% of Victorians said, yes, I can't wait. Now, in that fabulous book I wrote, that I read of yours, Give Us Back Our Country, you pointed out that you thought that the best run country in the world was Switzerland. Now, that was saying something, David, because that is not a constitutional monarchy, but you were saying even more important than that. Well, you're obviously well known as an ardent constitutional monarchist, but in Switzerland, which is a republic, it is a fabulous federation. The states, or what they call the cantons, really have a lot of power. Geneva doesn't have much power at all, but even the canton governments don't have much power because they've got this tradition of often having citizens-initiated referendums. And so the people decide things. You don't hear about big Swiss power struggles or big Swiss political scandals. The politicians are just not that important because the people are important. And I'm going to mention Switzerland in my upcoming maiden speech. I'm going to say, look, I'm saying it's not a libertarian utopia, but out of the 200 countries on earth at the moment, it's the closest to it. And they have all the statistics are in Switzerland's favour. High life expectancy, very low crime rate, even though pretty much everyone's got a gun. They had the lowest, in Western Europe, they had the lowest COVID vaccine uptake, because the government's got nothing to do with the healthcare system in Switzerland. Everyone in Switzerland, they have this is how it works in Switzerland for healthcare. And we know that government stuffs up everything.